Hello and welcome to Net That Haul, the last episode of the 22-23 season. It's been a roller coaster, Gabe, and it's good to be here with you to see off Gameweek 38 for the match-up show. I'm, of course, FPL Nemo, and I'm joined by my co-host at FPL Lens. We are missing at FPL Mariner this week as he moves from Singapore to Dubai, so we wish him all the best in his travel and relocation and new adventure. But good to have you here, Gabe. We missed you last week, and I know the timings didn't quite work for all of us, but I look forward to taking a break from this FPL season that's been my worst in like 7 seasons, and hopefully learning something about what went wrong with my process next year and finding some joy again and performing a little bit better than I did this year, because it's been a real fall from grace for me.
Well, it's nice to be here, Nima. Gameweek 38. This one couldn't be missed. I would prioritize finding the joy before learning something, and we'll talk about learning in just a moment when we get to the philosophy. But yeah, last week, I don't know how we've made Net That Haul work with our different time zones that we operate in, right? And we just, I don't know, somehow, right? But last week was probably like maybe one of the last times that we're going to be constrained in that kind of way.
It's exciting, isn't it? Because we've always been going quite weird. Like we've got you're 8 hours behind me, I think. Mariner's right now, 8 hours in front of me. So between us, we like literally covered the globe. Like the only FPL show where there's 3 hosts and every single person is in a totally like Mariner would be in the following day from me and you when we go live. Like it's Tuesday or Wednesday for us. It's the next day for him.
It's tomorrow for him. Like we span like 15 or 16 time zones.
It's mental, honestly. And thank you to all the haulers who have, I know so many have woken up at like 3, 4, 5 a.m. just to tune in live. So honestly, your support throughout the season and for the seasons before, it goes without saying. Like, I don't think we'd have the motivation to have kept going with such difficulty time zone wise without all of you. But the good news is when he moves to Dubai, I reckon we're going to be able to go closer to this kind of time going forwards in the UK. So this will be much better for both us and our listeners, I think.
Well, not our listeners in Asia. So commiserations on that front, but we can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, sorry guys. Mariner managed to keep you guys keep the time zone friendly for you, but now that he's moving, I don't think there'll be any 1 a.m. UK streams anymore. My body can't take it anymore. I've aged a few years just from that alone.
I was gonna say you're actually looking younger. I haven't seen you this clean cut, I think, since ever since I've met you. So
people don't recognize me.
Things in general.
Yeah. People like when I was in the office or like I saw some of my friends who've known me for like 20 years. They just don't recognize me on the street. I clean shaved recently, and I didn't remember what I looked like without a beard, if I'm honest. I'm not sure I like it, but I definitely look a little bit fresher, as you say. Hopefully it will bring some youth and happiness back to me in my FPL journey.
It's the summer, Nima. You're on the beach, brother.
Exactly. I'm finally on the beach. So I think the main thing as well, just for anyone on podcast who can't see this, obviously shout out to you, Gabe, for recommending good old Bobby Firmino for the final thumbnail of the season. I think it goes without saying that he has been, as a neutral, as a non-Liverpool fan, he has been like one of the Liverpool players I've enjoyed watching the most in the Premier League. I just love him. Like I genuinely just love this guy, but I know that you probably love him even more. So I thought before we go into the philosophy, why not just pay homage to him? And especially for the podcast listeners who aren't seeing the picture, while you do that, I'm going to pour myself a glass of red wine because it has been a long day at work.
There you go. Go get it, Nima. Go get it. So yeah, I think, Firmino came in and he kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say he changed the role of the 9, but I think he brought everybody awareness of just what the possibilities were for that kind of role. And I mean, not just like, we always talk about, oh, well, he drops and he links the play and stuff like that. But he's so clever in the box as well, especially in the 6, getting around defenders, getting a toe to something, finding like whatever body position he needs to get in traffic to direct the ball like just on target. He had this kind of like innate sense for that, and he could drop and link play and play kind of midfield. So I just saw, and then obviously like the blinding smile is iconic as well. he came just at this perfect time. That there are like certain moments, right, in like football history where things come together just perfectly, and they did for Liverpool in that moment with Mane and Salah and Bobby, and that was just like it was something to behold, and it was just a really cool experience, and it wouldn't happen without Bobby. So yeah, I mean, and kudos to you for all of the title slides all season. I think an underappreciated part of the season. I know you take a great creative pleasure in making those. So yeah, I love them.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to bring something to production where I can't maybe an analysis or data like you and Mariner do. So we all have our strengths, and it's nice to have such a variety of them on the show. I just want to pull up Robert Ducky's comment about Firmino turning the number 9 into a CDM role. I think I don't know if I go as far as that, but definitely he did revolutionize the position, I think, in the Premier League.
And in a way, like I think Rubber Ducky's right in more ways than one, and not just the fact that he would drop, but the way he would plug space when Liverpool were pressing high, and Firmino would just drop into like it'd be like playing in the role of the 6 in the at the area of the field of the 10. So playing that applying that kind of pressure, I think that was his true revolution there. So yes, he turned the 9 into a CDM, but a CDM at the 10 position.
Yeah, that's what's exciting about it, right?
Yeah.
And obviously he was core to the journey that Liverpool went on to compete for 5 years toe to toe with barely anywhere close to the spend of Man City, the giants that they are. He won every trophy he could win while at Liverpool, and he was a big part of all those winning teams. So yeah, fair play to him, and he will be missed, and especially his dazzling white smile. I hope that I can find out where he went to get those teeth whitened, because I've never seen such white teeth in my life.
Would you want teeth like that?
It's almost scary how white they are. Yeah, it's a bit.
They went too far, man. I'd ask for some of my money back.
I think I'd rather get. If I was going to go that far, you might as well just get grills, as Nelly used to say, and just put a few diamonds in your mouth with it while you're at it. But jokes aside, let's go to the philosophy of the week, and then we'll do some shout outs to everyone who's tuned in live.
Right on. Philosophy of the week here. FPL Philosophy of the week. The last one, Gameweek 38. And we're going to be hearing like a lot of lessons learned kind of themes, right? And so I thought I would go against it, as I do. So that this quote comes to us from, and I'm not sure of this pronunciation, but Pema Chodron, Buddhist, and they said any conclusion that we draw must be let go. And the reason as we are trying to learn lessons from the season, I think we're also we're too close to the season to really see these lessons clearly. So we're going to want, the lessons are going to be kind of influenced by a certain bias about our feelings around the season. So for example, the types of lessons that you might draw for yourself might be quite extreme because you've had, one of the worst, or your worst season ever. Whereas, somebody that's doing really well may gloss over some lessons. I think we're just too close. So I think let go of everything. Let go of your conclusions, your lessons, your rank, your experience of the season. Give yourself some space, let go of everything, and then come back and see with a more maybe objective lens, what conclusions and lessons you can draw.
No, I like that. So I was just tweeting as well to say, come and join us in the chat for the last time this season. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I definitely can relate to this. It resonates with me very well because actually, I just think now's not the time for me to make any conclusions at all or any learnings. I think now is just the time for rest and recovery and recuperation and maybe rehabilitation. I think
But you said it earlier, right? Find the joy. Just
find why I enjoyed fantasy. As always, cheating say, right? Make fantasy fun again, right?
Yeah. Make sure that you're doing it through a place of just completely detached and joyful of your experiences in life, and then you can learn lessons. There's that Zen Buddhist parable or something, where the student goes to the master and asks for all the knowledge and stuff, that they're ready to receive all the knowledge, all the wisdom, and the so they sit down to have tea, and then he's about to serve him some tea, and he pours the tea, and he doesn't stop, and the tea like starts overflowing, and he's like, "Whoa, why do you keep pouring that?" And he's like, "Well, your cup must be empty in order to receive something, right? If your cup is full and you think that you're ready for all these conclusions, maybe you need to empty all of that first in order to receive some real wisdom."
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I think, funnily enough, actually, I've been looking forward to next season, as sad as it sounds, for a number of game weeks now. I do feel, I don't know if it's just me, like let me know in the chat, guys, but I always find the preseason like the most fun part of FPL for me, where it's like where we make all our own narratives and conclusions, and we look at preseason minutes and new signings, and it just feels like once you've had that first month of break, then you get into the preseason tournaments all over the world, and new signings come through, new youth players get promoted, and the promoted clubs arrive in the Premier League, and it just feels like a period of time when FPL community is at its best. It's full of hustle and bustle, and everyone's being nice, and no one's coming out with bullshit hindsight fucking comments and trying to fucking shoot each other down about I was right and you were wrong, because nothing can be right because no ball is being kicked yet. And genuinely, I just enjoyed that process of, I don't even try to make like a first draft. I just click autofill. And up until like the week before, I just enjoy researching and watching and reading and listening. And it's just so pure. It's like enjoying football at its purest for me, FPL at its purest, before everything starts to kind of get back into the normal process of the week to week, one transfer at a time.
Yeah, I have the same experience. I really like that time of year as well. Also, it's just our how we see football without any FPL decisions, or like it's just like how we see the game, right? So it is nice and pure. I'm looking forward to that time.
Nice. Let's do a couple of shout outs quickly while we're here before we go into the show. So we have some kind of old haulers here who've not managed to tune in live for a long time as well. So it's good to see everyone here for the last one of the season. So we have Blue Danube Joe, good to see you. Hey there, man. Tricky MF, good to see you. Free hit bonanza. I think there's a few people on free hit this week, so that's exciting. Hopefully some of the matchups we see can help you shape up that free hit team this week. Combe, good to see you. He says, ¿Cómo está? He has no idea if that's right.
Yeah, so I told him "Cómo está" is like an usted, so it's kind of formal, and "Cómo estás" would be a tú, and that's more informal. But it is right. Yeah.
Good job. Nice. I see that you're forever teaching us all language lessons as well as FPL. And thank you for the very kind message from Tricky MF as well about some of the best content out there. So Claire, lovely to see you. I know you've had some intense work hours and like the timings haven't quite worked with when the show's on. So glad that we can do this together with you. And we will be together on Sunday at the FPL meets in London, making deadline transfers right up until 3 p.m. So I'll be there from 1 p.m. Anyone who wants to join us in London for the last FPL meets of the season, we're at about 100 RSVPs now. I think it's going to be the biggest and best like FPL meets ever in history. There's the SKLW trophy tournament from Scout. There's FPL Focals doing a community tournament. He's bought a load of medals to give out. There's just all kinds of stuff going on. There's going to be like a mini league just for Gameweek 38 to raise money for charity as well. So lots of good stuff. We're going to be there from like 1 p.m. till 11:30 p.m. when the pub closes. We have 20% off all food and drink, and we have full exclusive access of the entire upstairs at the venue for the first time. So honestly, like if you're in London, if you can get there on Sunday and you want to meet like-minded FPL lovers and just embrace 10 matches kicking off at the same time, which is very rare throughout the season, it only really happens once, then do not miss out. Just DM me on Twitter and I will get you on that list. But yeah, very much looking forward to meeting Claire, one of our YouTube members and haulers in person. So that's very exciting. And thank you for coming to visit. Couple more shout outs and we'll go. We're going to miss you too, Asad. You've been a great supporter of ours. We really appreciate all the kind words throughout the last few months. Catherine, another one of our haulers, lovely to see you. Good evening. Robert Ducky's in shock. What the duck? It's 6 p.m. GMT. Val, good to see you. Good evening, mate. General Zod, nice to have you here. I'm sure we're going to have some Everton questions soon.
Mm.
Everyone's wondering on who to punt for from your team. So, Robert Ducky, good to see you, as I said. JMC, so there's Johnny Belfast. It's been a long time. We've not seen
Yeah.
you live, buddy. Good to see you here. And Evening Dan from the FPL Way as well. Lovely to see you, mate. So, thank you, everyone who's tuned in live. If you enjoyed the episode today or found it entertaining, please do hit that like button at the end and subscribe for next season's preseason content if you're new. Cool. Should we go straight to the matchups? To the first one?
Let's do this. Get right into it.
Let's do this. Arsenal versus Wolves. There was a lot of talk about punting on Arsenal assets before the total capitulation at the end of the season. I'm not sure whether I would trust many Arsenal assets going into this game week. I'm kind of nervous now about whether I buy one as a punt or not for the last week, but it'll be interesting to see what the data shows.
Well, I think the first thing we need to say is I think the data is much less relevant in game week 38. So the data is kind of like, maybe we'll use it as a little bit of a qualifier rather than the focal point of the analysis. I think the main point is from you as an Arsenal fan, how do you think you're, like, the culture, your players, how obviously you don't know, you're not in the locker room, but how do you think they're feeling? Like, they're home, they're finishing the season after these disappointing results and not winning the league when that they were all dreaming of it, right? And they're finishing the season home to Wolves. How do you think they're feeling?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of kind of naivety from us potentially, and we've just kind of run out of steam towards the tail end of the season. But I think I wouldn't swap this season ever, like, for anything. Like, as an Arsenal fan, just from like the connection I feel to my club, to the players, to the rest of the fan base, going to matches and supporting the team, I can't remember a season I've personally like enjoyed more. Obviously there was like the last title was back in the Invincibles era, but I was quite young back then and I didn't go to the stadium and stuff. So for me, like, as a supporter, this season has been incredible, and I would expect us to actually put on a very good show, really. Like, I would kind of throw data aside and I would expect us to want to clap the boys, thank them for the season, show our support for all the great memories they've helped create for us. If we win this game, we'll have won 26 games this season. And, that's huge progress from where we were. And, we were the team that were in fifth, and, we were dying just to get top four and get back into the Champions League after 6 years nearly. And I just didn't expect the season we had, really. And I think it's really easy to get lost in the upset of how it's ended, but I think it's more disappointment. But end of the day, what can I say? Like, this City team are potentially about to go down as one of the greatest Premier League teams of all time, should they finish this treble. So I feel no shame in what's happened, but I'm excited because I do think this is a chance for the boys just to remind us again of all of those great moments this season and end the season on a high. So I'd be quite positive going into this. And Wolves are safe from relegation. I don't really know what they have to play for. I think, God forbid I say the words on the beach, but I don't really know what they have to play for in this game, to be honest with you. We have pride to play for. Like, we've been getting battered in the media for like 6 weeks.
So I totally agree with you. I think there's pride around how the season has gone for Arsenal. I mean, when you get past the disappointment of dropping from first to second, right? And you take a bigger kind of point of view, like you just did, say, like, nobody expected that at the beginning of the season. It's an incredible achievement for kind of the first real year of the complete project, right? Now you need to strengthen, you need depth, and so on and so forth. But to almost win the league is like a great achievement. But like, losing to Forest, you guys are going to want to make up for that, I think. So I think Arsenal just come out firing here. Like, I think I'm in line with Mariners FDR. 3.5 for Arsenal, negative 2.1 for Wolves. NetxG is only 1.8 for Arsenal and 1.3 for Wolves. But I'm more in line with the FDR. I think Arsenal's going to batter Wolves. And what I wrote here is I really like the shots in the box predictions. 12.4 shots in the box predicted. Jesus has the most shots in the box in the last 6. He has 15. So I think this is a Jesus game, and I think this is the like the talisman leaders. So I think Jesus because of the shots in the box. I think Saka because he's a talisman of
And he's
the
just
team,
signed the 4-year contract as well
and he
to make him
just
probably
signed
the
the
highest
contract.
paid
That's
player
right.
at Arsenal Football Club and reflect the status of the fact that he was our player of the season the 2 years prior to this season. And like
Yeah,
at 21 years old, he's already arrived into the top 30 goal scorers in Arsenal history. And the guy's only fucking 21. Like,
and he's only 21. And then Odegaard, the captain, just because he is the captain, and he'll be like, they'll want to you know, exalt him as well, right? So, and then these kinds of, so these are kind of like psychology narratives and stuff like that, fair which is fine, but then it's backed up by the zonals, so then we can use the data to kind of back up these perspectives. And the zonals at 4.9 for Arsenal down the center, 4.8 on the right. It speaks more than the left, 3.7 on the left. Almost 3 big chances predicted for Arsenal here. I see 3 or 4 goals for Arsenal, kind of, but I think Jesus absolutely hauls. I just have this
so
feeling
he's
that
someone that has obviously been underperforming XG for a number of weeks now. And I think a lot of people have been quick to criticize him and forget like the impact he had on changing the team overall from when he arrived this season and pre-knee injury. I think he's just having some late, post-knee injury issues. But the reality is, like he's someone I would love to punt on. So I think if there was one Arsenal asset this week I would be going for, it is actually him. So I think when we talk about the Tottenham Leeds game, we could talk more about Harry Kane as well. But that kind of position is really contested for me. And those are the 2 clear standouts for me as someone who I might use my last transfer on. But yeah, Jesus, especially this shots in the box 12.4. Like I'm hoping that like the goals are imminent at some point. Like I honestly I would potentially captain him. Like I would honestly potentially do it. I'm so far behind where I want to be. And just to comment on Tricky's question about am I right in thinking the Gunners go all guns blazing in Gameweek 38 in the past? Let's cover this now instead of at the end of the show. So I think obviously last season, like, we missed out on top 4, but from what I recall, like, wasn't it like 5-1 or something against Everton on the last day? So I definitely think even then, like when we couldn't even get top 4 against Everton, we still kind of showed up. I do think the Arsenal Emirates crowd will be well up for it. I'm not sure I see a clean sheet, to be honest with you. We've conceded a lot at home this season, but I do expect us to get at least kind of 2-3 goals.
I
And
don't know if
maybe
we'll score on you.
you reckon they're just in a bit of a mess, aren't they? Because
Wolves away are shit. They are absolute shit. They do nothing away.
this is why the FDR is minus 2.1, right? Negative 2.1.
I think that's the most accurate. And I do think that they're done. Like there's nothing. Lopetegui saved them. They're away. Like I think they're done. I don't think Wolves score. I think Arsenal clean sheet. It's one of the most. So I don't think clean sheets are super likely this game week, but I think the Arsenal one is one of the more likely. Is it? I guess what I would say. Not a band, not nailed on, but
yeah, I feel like we won't go into the content around like are there more goals scored in Game Week 38 compared to other weeks, because I think loads of people have covered it on their pods earlier this week, and like Tom from who got the assist, he actually looked into the data for like 8 seasons or something, and generally like it's not just a gut feeling. Like there is data that shows in Game Week 38 there are more goals, and so that's why I think if I was going to make transfers this week, I've been seeing people talk about defensive transfers. I'm not convinced I would be buying a defender this week or a goalkeeper. Like that's not how I want to end the season. You told me to have fun before I reflect on my learnings. Buying a defender this week is not fun to me. If it's fun for you, sure, go for it. But a week which historically has more goals than most, that is not a week I'm looking to buy a defender as a punt.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tricky has a comment. He says Lopetegui on his way out too. I hadn't heard about that, but if that's also true, then I mean,
so there's been some stuff happening. Yeah, so Travis mentions that Wolves are in the news for the wrong reasons. Morale could be low. So I've been seeing a lot of weird stuff been going on. Like last game, Jimenez didn't get to come on the pitch to say goodbye to the fans.
Yeah, and
I think Martinho didn't make it on either. And like, there's just something weird is going on. It's almost like he's trying to almost force the players out that he doesn't see as part of the long-term plans. I don't know if the manager's on the way out, but it feels like he's very much putting his foot in the sand and drawing a line and saying, you guys aren't part of this plan for me going forwards. Now, whether that means he gets sacked over this kind of thing. I don't know, but there's definitely some morale issues going on.
They started the season with financial problems, so those might be coming back to roost now that
I heard there's some
potential,
like it's a minor thing, but there is some financial fair play elements to this, and there is something going on. And Claire says, "How come Jose Sar's been dropped in the last 2 games? Bentley started." So this is part of the whole like we don't know what is going on. Like something is very off right now there.
FPL teacher will be able to tell you about that probably. That's who I usually go to for Wolves stuff.
Makes sense. Should we go to the next match? I think the bottom line here we're saying is that like Wolves assets are probably an avoid based on everything we just said. And Arsenal wise, I do feel that for me it's like a Jesus versus Kane debate going on in my head. I know some people are thinking of Watkins as well. I'd probably put those 3 up there as people to consider. And in midfield, I would not be against a Trossard punt with Martinelli out.
I think
Odegaard and Saka are better with zonals though, right?
I think so. I think my order of preference for the Arsenal assets would be number 1 Jesus, 2 Saka, 3 Odegaard, and then 4 Trossard.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think Trossard's like more of a Hail Mary if you really want to like get Trossard, captain him, and just pray that you can make up some ground in your mini league.
The thing, Trossard it's because he's up against Nelson Semedo, who's not great, but the other stats don't really line up. And Trossard is new to the team, so is he going to be the featured player in a like a home season ending in an epic season? It doesn't feel like it, but he could because he's up against Semedo.
Yeah, so it would be Semedo would be the only decision there. So I guess Aston Villa versus Brighton. Brighton obviously play tonight against Man City as well. They got the double game week still not finished. So if you're in the live chat and you get the team news in about 30 minutes, do be sure to kind of drip feed that into here for us to talk about as well. But Brighton is someone who a lot of people are considering selling their Brighton assets to get like a Eze or to get a McNeil or, everyone's looking for like a midfield punt. And I think most people have 2, Brighton mids, or a lot of people do anyway, and they're looking at maybe selling one of Mitoma or McAllister, or even Pascal Gross, whoever kind of starts too many games, maybe tonight included. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? Because for me, I feel like I just don't see a reason to sell my Brighton assets. Like I just don't understand. Like, is it because like their position is locked and people feel they don't need to win the next game? Like, it's an away game. Villa have been good this season. Is that where the think is coming from? Or are we just looking at the next shiny new toy and the double's done?
I mean, I think all of the above. Like everybody's looking at the next shiny new toy because there's only 1 game week left and we want to play with something shiny one last time.
Oh, we don't know who to sell, right? It's like Rashford home to Fulham. Salah's got a great game.
We look for its confirmation bias, right? It's like, well, so here's how you confirm the rationale to sell Brighton. And it's that Villa at home have been really good and well organized under Unai Emery. They've conceded the fewest shots in the box in the last 6, only 25, and then Martinez has played really well at home, and you can see kind of his at home and away actually. He's saved 3 of the 3 big chances he's faced in the last 6 at home. So those are the reasons to sell Brighton now. And then I think what I see is like this one. What I wrote here is. I like Evan Ferguson for this match. I just and I like Mitoma up against Cash, but other than that, I just think it is a cagey affair for Brighton. And what are they really playing for? Like how much are they really playing for at this stage, right? I don't know.
I'm looking at their points tally.
And then the fact that they're away. Like for me, it's much easier to sell a player that's playing away, and then you bring in a player that's playing home. So I think that would be another reason people are selling them. But the shots goal predictors is still quite strong for Brighton. If you look down there at the shots,
I can see where the logic is coming from. So Brighton are on 61 points, obviously with the game tonight against City. So even if they lose that game, they're 3 points ahead of Aston Villa. But Aston Villa only have a 4-goal difference and Brighton have a plus 20.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, like, even if Brighton lose 4-0 tonight and, like, 8-0 against Villa, that's probably still not enough to like swing it for Villa to finish above them. So Brighton are probably pretty locked in that Europa League spot. It looks like.
Yeah.
I could see that. Maybe a few more of the youngsters get a run out. We saw the manager giving the interview recently. He was very open about the fact that it may be the last time that the home fans are going to be seeing the likes of McAllister and Caicedo. And he was very open about that. So yeah, maybe he wants to play the players that are going to be here next year.
Yeah. And so I don't think this is definitely not a matchup to target for Brighton. So I think it's okay to get rid of the Brighton assets.
But I do like the Ferguson comment though, so I think that's key to keep in mind. Because if I had Evan Ferguson like Andy Martin does, and I know he's not in the chat right now, but if you did, I assume you would play him, like, because there's no easy replacement for him at that price point either, is there?
And we saw Ferguson's goal. He's found some kind of clinical form, and that's what Brighton won't have many chances, right? They won't have many shots in the box. They won't have, so they need somebody clinical in form to kind of finish them if they were to have a chance at winning this game. And Ferguson seems to be the one that's most in form in terms of finishing right now. So, and then I don't know if Cash is going to start again, but I don't rate him at all. So I do like Mitoma up against him. But again, Mitoma has not been in good form either. So
it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I was looking, because originally I was looking to maybe sell one of Mitoma or McAllister and get someone like Eze, right? That was kind of my thoughts, or an Arsenal mid. But now, because I've been considering and eyeing up Harry Kane and he's very expensive, it would kind of mean I keep both my Brighton mids and I actually downgrade Fernandez to someone like Eze, so I can then upgrade someone like Isaac all the way to Kane. Now, I know a lot of people are considering that for a -4 and they're not sure if it's worth it. For me, I have 2 free transfers. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like Bruno at home against Fulham. If United still need a result, like if they don't get a result tonight and they still need a result against Fulham at home, I don't know if I could sell him just to get someone like Harry Kane. So then maybe then I revert back to the original plan of, based on this data, selling one of my Brighton mids actually to get to my Arsenal or Palace mid. That could be the route I go. And I don't know if I can stomach buying Harry Kane and captaining him on the last day of the season.
As an Arsenal fan, that would be a way to not make fantasy fun.
Maybe I should just get Jesus, and if I get Jesus, maybe I don't need to downgrade Bruno because he doesn't cost as much as Kane. So yeah, that's some food for thought for me. Just before we move on, a quick question on Aston Villa. So obviously, the strikers are very barren right now. Like I've talked about Jesus and Kane, but they're both kind of up there in price point. I've seen a lot of people looking to get another striker this week. And if you look at the options under like 7-8 million, there's nothing that really is very exciting. Like I know people are looking for punts, but Watkins, like, is he not just someone that, like, he just happens to have not been as clinical when we all sold him, but he's still been getting the XG, he's still been getting the chances, and he had the missed penalty. But even with the missed penalty removed, I'm pretty sure his non-penalty XG is still up there as one of the highest over the last few weeks. So it's kind of like, are we just all kind of like, do we have a blind eye? Are we blindsided that we don't want Watkins because we got away with selling him the last few weeks? Is he not a great option this week? Like, could Spurs not overtake them for that final spot in the conference? So don't Aston Villa need to win this game and Brighton don't? So surely if we're going for teams that have something to play for, Aston Villa and Watkins do, right? 90-minute man, talisman, penalties. So I feel like he's someone that's being very overlooked this week because we've all already had him and we're like looking for that next shiny toy, as you were saying. I've seen people looking at like Iheanacho and Edouard ahead of Watkins, and I find that insane. That's the definition of insanity to me.
Yeah, I mean, Chad Sport comes in with the Vardy suggestion, and we'll get to Leicester.
Well, we'll get to Leicester, like, but I can at least handle Vardy, like, but Iheanacho, like, we don't even see the guy ever get played properly by his manager.
I don't know what's up with that one, but anyway, but to Villa, I think Watkins is the obvious, and therefore maybe that's why he's not exciting.
Too obvious.
Because he is obvious. He's too obvious. He's but
So
I would not,
yeah.
if you don't know who to get Watkins. Just get Watkins, and I think you'll be good at home in a game that they will be playing to win.
Because I'm
Whereas
just
Brighton
having a look. So
may not
Tottenham is
be.
on 57 points and
Mhm.
Aston Villa are on 58. So if Tottenham beat Leeds and Aston Villa don't win their game, they're not getting Europe Aston Villa next year. So Aston Villa
Right.
have to beat Brighton.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're relying on Spurs to lose to Leeds. I know crazier things have happened, but still.
Yeah. So it's and Watkins he's their talisman. He's gonna score. So I think Watkins is a perfectly good option if that's who you can afford. I think he rivals. No, he doesn't rival Kane. Kane is still much better.
It's
But
so much better, right? What
but
about
we'll
Jesus?
get to that.
Is Jesus worth that little bit more money? Or are they quite close? Because Jesus probably isn't even on
Not
penalties,
worth
right?
the hit, but worth the money. Yeah.
Fine. All right. Let's go to the next game. I think I just wanted to make sure we covered Watkins because I feel like we were so focused on Brighton that it's actually Aston Villa who have the better NetxG at 1.7 to Brighton's 0.8. The
Yeah.
FDR is totally the opposite with Aston Villa minus 1.1 and Brighton 1.6. So it's interesting to see such a stark contrast in the data this week for anyone who's on podcast and can't see that the FDR and NetxG are totally calling this game in opposite ways.
Yeah, it's true. That's funny, and I think it's the zonals, which are slightly favorable towards Villa, are baked into NetxG, so they're propping up Aston Villa's NetxG, and then Emi Martinez at home is bringing Brighton's NetxG way down to 0.8. So those are the two factors that are kind of like
That's what's
flipping it.
impacting it. That makes sense. We'll go to the next matchup, but just to pull up Travis's comment as well, that it's not even just Spurs that can overtake Aston Villa. So Brentford are on 56 points, and depending on what team Man City put out, talking of Brentford, that's the next matchup. Is there an opportunity for Brentford to also win? So if Brentford and Spurs both win, then Aston Villa have to beat Brighton if they want Europe next year.
Aston Villa, yeah, they need to win.
They've got two teams chasing them down, 1 and 2 points behind.
Yeah.
And obviously, Brentford is at home. I don't know what to think of this game. Obviously, they're without Tony, but we saw Mbuemo step up to the plate with the brace. Big shout out as well to one of our haulers. Actually, he was in the DMs with me on Saturday, I think, leading up to the deadline last week. And he was looking for a striker to buy. So here it is, Sneaky Pete 25 on Twitter. So big shout out to him because he went ahead and took a -4 to buy Mbuemo. And Mbuemo obviously got the brace. So damn, what a call, man. Kudos to you.
I as your dog barks at the other dog right now.
Yeah, that's the part I was warning you about.
Yeah, I brought I've owned Mbumo all season in my draft league. I drafted him. I play him almost every week, and I brought in Wissa, so that worked out. But getting to this matchup, I think Brentford line up in their 3-5-2, and that means Wissa doesn't play. So I don't know. Somebody on Twitter said that they expect them to line up in a 4-3-3, but I don't know. Against City, I just don't see that. They don't typically line up in a 4-3-3 against teams that want the ball, and that can do damage with the ball. So then that made me wonder. Well, who's going to be usually when they're in their 3-5-2? Tony drops a little bit and kind of on the left side. That dog likes some Mbumo. Right on, Comb. Tony will line up on the left side and help link the play on the counter attack, and then they release some Mbumo on the right side. That's typically what happens. But without Tony, I wonder who's going to be that link player. Will it be like the player that can probably protect the ball best is Mbumo? So will he be dropping to link and then send Shad on the other side, kind of running into space because he's really fast as well. I don't know if they'll do that or if they'll link through a central midfielder like Jensen or someone like that. So that's why I'm just not really certain about the analysis of whether it'll be Mbumo or Shad going forward. I predict Shad because I think Mbumo can probably link better. But Mbumo can probably also finish better than Shad. He's not hitting the woodwork like he used to. So
I guess Mbuemo is worth putting in that conversation when we're talking about the likes of Watkins and Jesus and Edward, like these final day punts, Vardy, Kane. I know it's Man City, but depending on which Man City teams lined up tonight, is there a case to maybe just go and get Mbeumo anyway for this game? I
I
think
think
the
if you can get,
NetxG is like positive enough, but the
yeah,
FDR is definitely not.
but it's not that bad either. Minus zero point 0.6 is quite neutral.
Yeah,
Which indicates that, and City are, that they're suspect. They'll give up that goal, and Mbomo's on pen, so you can make the case for him, right? Um, Especially because of his price. But Watkins is such an
still better.
upgrade
Yeah,
because he's such a talisman that if you
I
can
think
get
you
Watkins,
missed the boat if you didn't get him last week, like Sneaky Pete. What
yeah.
about everyone's so excited to buy Eze and maybe an Arsenal mid or McNeil if he's not playing fullback? Is there a case to just obviously all the games are at the same time, and we seem to be getting a lot of early team news recently. So I'm not going to debate about whether I think that's right or wrong. But while it still exists in the game, if we were to get early team news of which Man City mid started, is there a case to just buy that City mid? That's your kind of final day punt, like buy a Foden, buy a Mahrez, buy a Grealish. Like, is there an appeal in that to you from the matchups? Like, does the data support any Man City players here? Maybe zonals wise, especially.
So when Brentford are in a back three or back five, they're suspect between the line of back three and the central midfielders. So that's why I love Gundogan if he's going to play this game. That's who that
So
would
if
be
you
my
heard
favorite.
Gundogan was starting, he'd be someone that would appeal to you maybe more so than some of the other kind of assets from weaker teams.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
If I heard Gundogan was starting in this one, I would prioritize him over, I don't know who, like over Eze
Like if
or
money's no problem, right? Yeah, if you can
yeah.
get there instead of someone else from Palace. Okay, cool. I was going to mention like captaincy, but we'll do that in the captaincy match. I was going to ask about if you're going to captain Haaland or if you're looking elsewhere, but we'll do that when we get to the captaincy metric. It'll be
Okay.
interesting to see where everyone's ranked. Let's go to the next matchup in the meantime. So Chelsea versus Newcastle. A lot of people are obviously they've still got Kepa in their team. Guess my first question is like I said before, it's not really I wouldn't be making goalkeeper transfers this week. So do you just if you have him, do you play him? You know, or do you play like Raya if you had him instead? Because a lot of people have Kepa and Raya combo.
Hmm.
And then equally, the other question is like a lot of people are maybe looking to sell their Newcastle forward to get that forward punt, whether that's a Kane or anyone else. So, what are your thoughts? Because I would have thought that this is a great game for a Newcastle forward, the way Chelsea have been.
And NetxG would agree with you with NetxG of 1.9. So but the FDR doesn't agree. It's neutral as just 0.2 compared to minus 0.4 for Chelsea, and Chelsea 1.3 in NetxG. Um, this one, I guess the argument is Newcastle. Um,
If they secure
they've
Champions
secured
League,
top
right?
four, right? So what do they actually have to play for? But I just see like Newcastle versus Chelsea, and I see Chelsea managed by Lampard with what do they have to play for, right? And they don't even like they don't even have pride to play for. They have there's like literally nothing to play for, and they have no organization, and they have no ideas, and they have no designs compared to Newcastle, who they do their thing. They play their 4-3-3, even if not all the starters play or whatever. I think that the team with the system will just be superior to the team without a system. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 0-0, but I think Newcastle do their thing and they get their goal. But Isak on the wing is just too much of a provider, so I can't understand selling Isak. Callum Wilson, he's probably a keep if you can,
So
unless
I've
you're
got Isaac, and I'm definitely like I'm just selling him. Like I am buying
yeah
someone else. Like he fucking bombed from whatever his EO was when he was captain in the double from like 120% to like 25% in just 1 week. So whereas Wilson maintained the 50%.
yeah.
Like looking back on it, Wilson starting all three games and getting the minutes, like playing centrally and stuff. It just feels like
I,
what you're saying. Like Isaac he is being the provider more and there's just I got two transfers. I got to sell someone, right? Like you can make an argument to not sell any of my players, but I got to sell
mm,
someone, and there's enough forward punts out there that I think he is going to make way for me, regardless of the positive NetxG. And at least the FDR reassures me that it's a bit more neutral, perhaps, on that front.
Yeah, and it does seem that Pope is out. I think who's Tricky
Yeah, so
mentioned
he's
that
had
here.
surgery that they
Yeah,
were going to do postseason, but now they've secured Champions League. They've told him to get the surgery sooner.
right, and we may see more things like that. I would add like they're a team with depth. Dubravka's not a terrible goalkeeper. It's not like, I mean, Dubravka's better than many starting goalkeepers. He's better than Everson. He's better than Ward. He's better, so so it's not great, and it may hint at a Chelsea goal, and it may ruin the clean sheet. And the fact that Newcastle is away to Chelsea, that's another reason why they may not get a clean sheet.
So I was going to obviously, because I don't want to use a transfer on a defender, I'm starting Trippier this week. I'm looking at my backline, Trent, Shaw, and Trippier. I know that an Everton defender is like the hot topic everyone's talking about against Bournemouth. And also we mentioned that obviously like someone like Gabriel Magalhaes from Arsenal, maybe. So there are some defensive assets out there, but I still just see more upside in like buying a striker or a midfielder. I'm happy enough playing Trippier in this game. I think a lot of people
For sure.
sold him already after like 10 blanks in a row. But also a lot of very jammy people are going to get him off the bench this week because it doesn't look like Diaz and who else was it? Grealish have even traveled today, it sounds like, with the squad. So that's
I really needed those differential points, but oh well.
Same. Yeah, I really needed those.
Shit.
I'm going to drop straight out.
Look at that right zonal matchup for Newcastle, right? 3.7. So I think Trippier is an easy start.
So it's fine to keep. Yeah, so I'll keep him then. All right.
Yeah.
Just some news, because there is some match news out. I'll put some info out there. So obviously the official lineups are in 8 minutes, but everyone on Twitter is already putting lineups out. I've also seen them. So Ortega's in goal, as Travis says. Edison is benched. Mahrez starts. Haaland starts. Gundogan starts. Alvarez is benched. Ferguson is benched. McAllister's benched. Dunk is benched. Fucking, that's a shit show out here.
I gotta get on Twitter.
Wait till game week 38, mate. If this is what it looks like in game week 37.
Exactly.
Oh my God. It's really going to be an insane end to the season, isn't it? Yeah, I think we move on from here. I don't think there's any Chelsea assets I'd be looking to punt on in the last week. And Newcastle's a question of whether you keep or sell those assets. I don't think I'd be looking to buy into them this week. So I think, for all intensive purposes, like this, we've covered this matchup. There are better ones for people on free hit or looking to make punts to gain ground in their mini league this week. So Crystal Palace versus Forest is one of them. This is one of them because, the midfielder of choice, Eze, has been called up for England. He's got his 10 goals and his 5 assists on the season. He's looked in incredible form of late. And I believe he's the highest scoring 6 million or under midfielder in the game this season. So all signs point to an Eze, England call-up hat-trick, dare I say. Maybe I'm being a bit optimistic there.
Okay, there's a lot of hype, right?
Yeah.
So where is that coming from? I'm curious. I mean, it's not the stats, obviously.
I think it's the X Lively. You remember back in the day, like the Lamptey was X Lively. When people were buying Traore, it was X Lively. Saint Maximan, X Lively. There's a lot of these X Lively players out there, aren't there? Estupinian, he's an X Lively player.
And I would say in this match, this is an X Lively, not just an X Lively player in Eze, but also an X Lively match in Uncle Roy comes in, brings in this attacking masterclass, just blows the thing up. Palace are amazing; they're flying all over the place. And now this is the home thank you for Roy, the home thank you party. I think they're going to take advantage of that. I'm buying the X Lively narrative.
Forest are safe, right? It's kind of like this is why this game and the Everton versus Bournemouth game are so appealing for final day punts, because these are teams that they're away from home, they're safe from relegation, they don't need to worry, and they're playing teams that are, like Everton on the Dyche have been okay. They're not incredible, they've been okay. Whereas Palace actually under Roy, they've been very good from an attacking point of view for a while now.
Yeah,
and a
and
big
when we
shock to me.
see, yeah, and then we see the left zonal matchup of 4.0 strong for Palace, and we see that reflected in the NetxG 1.7 for Palace compared to 0.9 for Forest. Obviously, the zonal matchup is not in the FDR, so that's why that number is lower. 0.4 FDR for Palace, -2 for Forest, so hinting at a Palace clean sheet as well. Forest have a strong headed matchup. So, and Taiwo Oni has been he's been in good form, and he's just such a physical presence in there. That I think he could potentially benefit from that headed matchup and ruin Palace's clean sheet. So I'm not sure about the clean sheet. Palace have a nice kind of like 10 or more shots in the box predicted. But Zaha is the shots in the box specialist. So ideally, what we would want is if Ez is playing on the left side of midfield, that's ideal because he takes advantage of the left zonal matchup there. He can kind of use if he has Ayu in front of him, he can use Ayu to maybe stretch the opposing defenses all the way back and maybe get in the box and take it. And if Eze can get the left zonal matchup and the shots in the box kind of working for him, then he would be the one to haul, and he would probably be my preferred Palace asset in this one.
I think a lot last time round when I think me and Mariner were talking about Forest, obviously they weren't safe at the time before they beat my beloved Arsenal. But Taiwo, we kind of spoke of him at the time, and we said we didn't feel he was one to get ahead of the Arsenal game, and that maybe he'd be a good punt at the end of the season for the last week if they still needed to play for something. But now that they've kind of secured it, I'm not so sure I would be looking to go there away from home for Taiwo when they're probably all on the piss up, getting drunk, celebrating their survival. So I think in this match, Eze is definitely one to look at. Any love for Olise or Edouard? If we get like any, like, because obviously we're talking about late news. What if there was late news that like Eze doesn't play, for example? Would you then pivot to an Olise, or would you just move to like a Gundogan or an Arsenal mid like a Saka that we were talking about? Would you just move out of this matchup altogether if it wasn't Eze specifically?
I would probably move to another matchup regardless. I just want the players on the good teams.
Yeah.
So, but if you're on Eze, I think it's a perfectly reasonable shout. But if you're gonna move elsewhere, like my recommendation would always be like someone like Gundogan or something like that. That's on one of the good teams at home, preferably playing for something.
Yep, sounds good to me. Val says Eberechi Eze is the best finisher in Crystal Palace. He's a good punt for me in Gameweek 38. So cool. Benjamin as well, one of our haulers, YouTube members. Thank you so much, mate. Much love to you as well. And hopefully we can all go and get those green arrows for the last time this season. Really appreciate that. And let us know what you end up doing for your final spicy Gameweek 38 moves. Cool. Let's go to the next game, I think. Everton versus Bournemouth. So this is the other kind of punt territory as we were talking about. Everton, this is a bit different in the sense that Palace obviously don't have to win. Like they're fine. But Everton, unless they win, like they're then relying on the teams below them to not win. So like both Leicester and Leeds are there waiting. And two of these three clubs are going down. Like Leicester, Leeds and Everton, two of those three are going down. What are your thoughts here? Like Bournemouth are obviously safe. So do Everton approach this as like just get a draw, or do they actually try and go for a win?
I mean, I think they go for a win, but they don't like throw the kitchen sink at it, right? They do it in Dyche at home fashion. And yeah, I think whether Mykolenko is the health of Mykolenko is a big deal. I think they'll probably try to push him so they don't have to play McNeil at left back again. Because I mean, Everton are going to want to take advantage of McNeil further up the pitch. They're going to need those deliveries and use him when Bournemouth are caught in possession. They can really be found out, and I think McNeil is going to be absolutely necessary to that transition, but higher up the field. So the health of Mykolenko is going to be just a big factor in how this match plays out. But I like that right side for Everton. We've seen different players play in there. If it's Onana in there, I think that could be Not that you're going to get a player like this. I'm just talking about the football itself. But suffice to say that I think McNeil is too risky. Don't know where he's going to play or the role that he's going to serve. Where that outlet will be. The zonals don't exactly favor him. I think Calvert-Lewin could be an option if he's healthy. I'm not sure if he is, but I think there are better options up front. So again, it would be a no. And then Onana is just such an out. He's just way too punty. So I wouldn't actually be investing in this game at all.
Yeah, I know Calvert-Lewin was someone who people had thought about, and I'm not sure I can go there. I feel for the guy. Like ever since that season where he got like 21 Premier League goals, he's just been injury ridden for a while now. But Everton are definitely a different side with him in it, and I think they're much better. And I remember when Everton played Arsenal, and Dash just arrived. I think at their stadium, just his hold-up play and just the ability to get the ball and kind of beat his defenders. Honestly, I think he's a great player, but I just feel sad for him in terms of the injuries that are plaguing him currently. And hopefully next year he can kind of trot on in his career and do well. But I don't know if they'll be in the Premier League or not. I hope so. I feel like Everton are they're kind of like a core part of like the Premier League era. Like it would be so wild to see them go down in the midst of financial fair play. Like how can you spend that kind of money and go down? Jesus Christ. I really hope for their fans' sake that they can get through this period. But equally, who would have thought that Leicester could potentially be going down as well? Like after winning that fairy tale Premier League not so long ago, and Leeds when they arrived, my God, didn't expect it to end like this for them. So there's a case to be made that it's really sad to see any of these three clubs go down. I don't think any of us, if you told me at the start of the season that one of like Everton or Leicester would go down, I would never have believed you. I would have thought them both as like top 10 clubs.
I would have believed you.
Well, because of Brendan Rodgers.
and who was Everton's manager?
Oh God, was it Frank still? Oh my God. Okay, yeah, okay. I blame this only on the managers. Like the reason they're even having to fight till the last day is because they sacked those managers too late, if you ask me then, because my God, those two, wow.
Exactly. Combs like too risky to say it's time for McNeil then. Yeah, absolutely. And that's how you have fun, right? In Gameweek 38.
If we knew Mikalenko started, would that make you a bit more interested in McNeil as a alternative?
Sure. Yeah. If we knew that Mikalenko was starting, that's definitely a boost for McNeil.
Cool. All right, nice one. Let's go to the next game. So we have Leeds versus Tottenham. So this is another big one. Obviously, Leeds are the third team that are potentially going to get relegated here. So I don't know, like everyone's piling in on Kane because Leeds have to win, right? Like even a draw isn't enough. So normally you would think maybe a team fighting for their lives would kind of park the bus, but Leeds can't really do that. They have to win and hope the opposition lose. As in like the rivals for that relegation.
1-0 is a win. You can park the bus and
after you get the one.
Play to win. No, even before.
Yeah. Oh, well, like just get the one. It's what we saw Newcastle versus Leicester, right? Like Leicester basically did nothing all game. Yeah. And there was that one attack at the end where they could have scored. Like just literally one chance, one moment.
That's a viable option. That's probably that. If you were to say Big Sam has to make a decision, what decision is he going to make? That sounds like a Big Sam kind of approach, right? It's just park the bus. Spurs are going to concede. They get, especially in transition, they're terrible in transition. So just sit there and hit them on a break, and that's why I wrote here like this is a match for like the agents of chaos. Like Leeds can just sit there and then they'll send like Rodrigo or Gnonto or somebody on this crazy counterattack. And then Spurs are going to look to probably Son. I see like Son's form is improving. I wouldn't be surprised if Son gets something here. I think Kane will definitely get his. But he's what's interesting is like statistically it's pretty even. So it's going to be kind of a question of kind of game state. So what happens at the beginning of the game will kind of dictate the next moment, which makes it a little bit hard to predict. And apparently Bamford is out. I wrote here that whoever plays that center for Leeds, and maybe they'll throw Rodrigo in there, and that makes him even more interesting.
He's definitely like I think a midfield punt that should be considered
I
as
like
long
that
as
punt a
he's fit,
lot.
especially if Bamford is out, and it sounds like he is. So that's one to keep an eye. I'm kind of I guess shocked that the NetxG is 1.9 for both teams. Obviously it's in different ways, so you expect you got the actual shots XG is only 1, isn't it, for Leeds? So I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out like where, like what metric is it that's kind of bringing them up to catch up with Spurs' net XG, because they seem to be worse off in a few of the metrics.
Spurs away. So it's getting, yeah. So if you look, it's got an advantage of, so Spurs should have an advantage of 0.7 from the shots, right? And then Leeds has an advantage of 0.2 from the expected. So the difference
Yep.
becomes 0.5. And then you add one more from the goalkeeper and so that then it becomes 0.4. And then 0.4 can be, these are margins that
But these are marginal,
you
yeah.
should give yourself. Oh, look at Leeds shots goal predictor, slightly better than Spurs at the higher
That's
level.
where I see what you mean. So
There
their
could be
actual
there's a
shot
little
goal
bit
predictor,
there. There's
yeah,
there's a little
that's
bit
where it's probably
on
coming
shots on
from. Yeah,
target. So you pick up a little bit from the different metrics.
that makes sense, because I was thinking like, what was it that they were doing better than Spurs essentially? I guess in the underlying numbers, but that makes sense.
Oh, and
Interestingly,
look at the
Marin,
zonals that are baked in the zonals.
I was going to
3.7
say, so
for
you see
Leeds on the left.
3.7, yeah.
Yeah, it's better in 2 of the 3 zonals, and it's better by significantly more. So that's probably propping
So
it up
is
as
this
well.
2.5 zonal for Spurs on the left? Obviously, we got tricky here asking about thoughts on Sun, thinking the counter attacks might be lethal. I guess we can almost, can we dismiss the weak left-sided zonal for Spurs?
I think so, because it's not like Son is going to be creating from that side,
Fine.
right? And I think what'll happen if Leeds do play a deep block, then they're going to need Kane to kind of pull some of the center backs out of there and destabilize that line. And then when Kane does that, then it's Son coming in on the diagonal and ending up in the center.
I just think it's really fascinating, obviously, what you've said about the current popular narrative being that Leeds are going to throw the kitchen sink and therefore Spurs will get like 4-2 or it will be 4-4, or like there are some wild scorelines I'm seeing being put out there as predicted scorelines for this match. But what you said, like 1-0 Leeds is very much possible.
That's what if I'm Big Sam, I'm going for the 1-0.
And I imagine that's the kind of manager he is as well.
I think so.
Yeah. So this does interest me because Kane is someone I'm very interested in. I don't think I'd go so far as to captain him, but I would still be interested in him because we've seen time and time again over the last months, even since many of us sold him for double game week, is that regardless of what happens, whether Spurs lose or win or draw, he's always in there getting his goal. It's just like I think is it 2 goals away from 30 goals this season in the Premier League this season, maybe, or 1 goal. So I imagine as a kind of striker, we saw the guy swear on his newborn daughter's life that he scored a goal from his teammate when like it didn't even touch his strand of hair. So like this is a guy who wants to get the goals, right? Let's just be serious here. So I feel like those individual records are something he will have on his mind. So regardless of what Leeds are going to do, I do feel Kane, I still think he's a worthy enough punt, even if the data maybe doesn't show this to be that blockbuster 4-2 everyone's talking about.
I totally agree. I think Kane's going to be fired up to get that 30 goals. Knowing, well, I don't know. I don't know if this is his last chance to get it. If he goes to United, he could approach it again. If who
But
knows?
I don't think he has a season of 30 Premier League goals as
He
well. So it would
doesn't.
be a first for him, right?
Yeah, and he's so close that but Tottenham will want to win this game, and that'll be the priority, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of like the team over the individual here.
Yeah.
And no offense to him, but I do remember in the semi-final of the World Cup when he didn't square the ball to Sterling so England could go to the final. But I'm not bitter. We'll carry on.
I don't think, dude, you can't bring Kane in. I'm forbidding you from bringing Kane in.
But how am I going to compose myself when I've been 2 hours hosting 100 people at this FPL meets on Sunday and putting like name tags on everyone, and then like suddenly team news comes out and there's 2 minutes till deadline. I've got 2 transfers. I'm panicking. I don't know who to sell or buy. And I'm like, oh, he definitely starts. Like, like, if there's one thing I can guarantee in life is that this guy starts and plays 90. You're saying just get Watkins or Jesus instead and just
get Watkins.
Use the money elsewhere. Like just even buy Heung-min Son. Like just get someone.
Yep. You cannot get Kane. Just take Kane out of the equation and look how much easier your life gets already.
Well, then I wouldn't need to sell Bruno at home to Fulham, which would be nice.
See, your life's getting easier already. Like it's a sign.
And maybe Mitoma's the one I can sell next week, seeing as McAllister's rested tonight by the look of things. Look, everyone thought Mitoma would get rested in this double game week 37 because it was his turn next, and it doesn't look like it's happened. So he just keeps playing. So I don't know. Let's see.
That was a funny narrative too. Yeah.
Leicester versus West Ham. I know a lot of comments in the chat about Jamie Vardy. Good to see you, chat sport.
He's obsessed.
I know he's been keen to hear about Jamie Vardy for a while, so I feel it's only fair that we cover this matchup and talk about any other punts, because I've been noticing James Maddison's very high up on the expected points models on many sites. I'll be keen to see whether he even shows up in our captaincy metric when we get there in a moment. But yeah, I think like Jamie Vardy's a romantic punt. It's almost like the Aguero, David Silva punts of years past, and just get them one last time before they leave their clubs. But I do feel that I'd still prefer James Maddison, like if I had to pick between the two.
Go Harvey Barnes.
Harvey Barnes, okay.
Harvey Barnes. He's the one and it takes a lot for me to say that. You know that, Nima.
No, by the way, the crackle is back.
Oh no.
We'd finally got rid of the crackle after many episodes, but somehow it's returned. I feel like I don't know what's caused it, but
am I crackling?
Yeah, definitely. So for anyone on podcast, we are just trying to change the audio input and output slightly to.
Am I better?
Yeah, no crackle. Obviously, it's a shame that you've had to switch the mic off, but I'd rather be able to have no crackle. So we got an hour in without crackle, so that's good, right?
Yeah, we'll take it. Chat for it. Like I want Vardy to return. So here's the way that it's just kind of like again the data. I don't know what the data is like. NetxG it's pretty even across the board there. 1.5 for Leicester, 1.2 for West Ham. The FDR likes Leicester quite a bit more. 2.4 for Leicester, minus 1.3 for West Ham. With Leicester has the kind of stronger zonal matchups there, especially on the right hand side rather than the left, where I suggest Barnes, and Barnes is on the left. But I think the chance could come from like a long diagonal from that right side, and maybe that's where Maddison comes into play. I don't see Vardy getting in behind the line, behind defenders, really getting opportunities, like clear opportunities, and he can't create them for himself anymore. So that's why I'm not as high on him. I would wish him to as well, but I don't think that's likely. But I think what's going to happen in this game is West Ham have, as of Sunday, they'll have 10 days before their final against Fiorentina, and that's a long time to go without playing. So I think West Ham, they're going to start with their strongest team, the team that will start in that final, but I don't think they'll be risked. So I think what Dean Smith needs to do is just kind of like similar to like what we've spoken about before with Allardyce, is just kind of like hold off a better organized West Ham, and then just like let the game play out until West Ham, because West Ham don't need a result from this game, but they're going to want to practice for the final. So once West Ham start to let go and be like, okay, we practiced, let's make sure people aren't getting hurt when they make maybe their first round of substitutions, have some substitutions in mind where you're going to change the game and then go after it. So you go after the game in the last like 25 minutes or something like that and try to get that goal as West Ham is losing interest in the game and take advantage of kind of that game state. So I think the ideal player to do that, to really shift the field tilt in Leicester's direction, is Harvey Barnes. And that's why my Leicester punt would be Barnes.
I'm actually I've got a little notepad on my phone of all the players in every position that I should consider as a punt when I'm panicking at deadline on the FPL meets. So I'm just adding Harvey Barnes to the shortlist real quick because I want to have like names that I've already predetermined rather than like panicking and buying some random shit at deadline.
Or
That's the
listening to
other
all the
thing.
noise around you at FPL meets, and
Yeah,
you're like, okay,
yeah,
Kane.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden you end up with Kane because friggin' someone told you
Because
to.
everyone else is buying him and it's the match
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
projector. So because it's on the big screen, I want to watch him score or something. Yeah, so I've written him down. Vardy was on this list. I might fade him. So we've got Tricky says it's Vardy vibes. Colm says Vardy looks like he's been on a season-long party. Tricky says think he might be on a saga cruise party right now. And Claire says Vardy too pricey for a punt, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I bring that up because every other player that Claire has thought isn't worth buying, and she didn't understand why everyone else was so hyped on so far. I've noticed every single one of them has done absolutely fuck all. So she's actually been really good at calling all these bandwagons and saying, I don't understand why people are so interested in this. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you kudos here and credit because honestly, every single player you've said is shit for about since game week 30 onwards now has turned out to do exactly what you said they would. So I'm
Yeah.
going to keep a keen eye on what you're going to be doing at the deadline in the minutes leading up to it. Chatsport makes a good point about Madison and Barnes both got benched. It was very weird that they got benched, obviously, in that
Yeah.
game that they need to win. Was that maybe just a tactical decision against a very strong Newcastle who were trying to secure Champions League, or is there more to read into that? Do we just say that they're rested, therefore actually they are good punts for this game, as Val says? Or is there a fear that they could be rested again or benched again? Like, is it more than a rest?
I don't know. Say whatever you want to say. I have no
Exactly.
idea.
It's still very odd, isn't it, that they were both benched in that kind of
It's
must-win
strange.
game for relegation?
Yeah, I can't pretend to understand it, or I don't know.
I agree,
I
chat
don't
spot.
believe benched. I don't expect.
Vardy is going to be pumped. You're right. He's probably sniffing a line of Red Bull somewhere right now, just to get through this. Make sure I don't get banned on YouTube. But I'm telling you now, like we said, have fun before you look at lessons learned this season. If owning Jamie Vardy for one last party is fun, if you want to see him fly kick the corner flag and slam it in half if he scores, then by all means buy him. But I just think there's no wrong punt this week. It depends how hard you're chasing. I wouldn't captain him personally, but I still don't think there's anything too wrong with buying him. They have to win this game. They have to hope Everton can't get the points. And if you're confident in Vardy's minutes and a start, then sure, go for it. But I don't think either of us are looking too keen on Vardy at the moment. Yeah, and I think Val just makes a good comment, and we'll go to the last match of the week. So he says Madison and Barnes are prolific goal scorers by Leicester City standards in the Premier League. In recent times, Barnes has outperformed Madison in that sector. So I think he would tend to agree with you. Cool. Yeah, we can do a quick. Why don't we do a quick joke video break for the last half of the season before we go to the last match, which is obviously Man United versus Fulham. But before that, it's been a long time since we played one of the comedy videos of the last few years of the Net That Haul show. So while we get a quick water break, I will play some of these videos for fun. So I think my favorite one is still the Nick Demerari Gray rant. So when Trigger Lips came on the show and we were live on the show, and he found out that Gray had scored, and everyone on Twitter had bought him. He was a Twitter bandwagon, and he just kept scoring, and it made no sense because everyone was like he's crap, but he kept scoring.
It was when Rafa Benitez.
Yes,
it was Benitez. That was there, and he had this whole design to get Damari Gray in space, and Damari Gray all of a sudden learned how to finish, and so he pulled Doucouré, pull everybody wide right, and have the whole play concentrated wide right, and then just send these diagonal balls to Gray running against nobody. He's in space. These are the pure FPL moments, the pure reactions when
just seeing the live reaction because he did
see
not
the live from somebody very bitter. Let's be
So
honest.
what I will say to everyone, if you're watching on video on demand afterwards, if you're watching live now, keep an eye out for the part where Nick picks up his water bottle to drink it. That's definitely my favorite memory of this episode. All the best wishes to Nick as well. Just in case anyone doesn't know, he was one of the greatest FPL managers of all time for a period. There was a 3-year period where he finished in the top 200 in the world 3 years consecutively.
Mm-hmm.
he was like by far the #1 Hall of Fame manager, regardless of what tracking systems are out there. No one has ever performed at that level 3 years consecutively. Is actually insane, the level he played at. So although it's all in good fun, he was also a very incredible manager. But I think this is the part that broke him that season. So enjoy the clip while we take a quick 1-minute break, and keep an eye on his water bottle, as I said.
And he's getting his goals and assists. Oh, 3-1. Hold up. Don't know
This
who
is
scored
getting
the
fucking
third.
annoying.
I
But not
think
be
it's
Dre.
I think it's the Corey.
Again,
No,
no,
Gray
Gray.
scored.
So I've got him in
Oh,
Sky.
fuck
Okay. Oh no, that's going to damage my FPL rank though. You're
What's
right.
Gray
Whatever
scored?
happens, it's so sad when our FPL is more important than fan team. That's
Can't believe-
devastating.
Next on
Brilliant.
top.
I bet livefpl.net is going to crash. Let's have a look. Oh wow, the average and the safety score have gone way up.
Having
not even
DCL out and then having that prick Gray score, it's just like it's ruined my fucking day, that's you know, you get
It's ruined my day too, to be fair.
all 10 midfielders blank, don't they? And you just know that fucking Gray's going to come along and fuck up your game week.
On a
week
Monday night.
Except all the pricks on Twitter who've all got him. That's the only people you were. 99% of people posting on Twitter tonight will have him.
All the wildcarders.
All the rest will have turned off.
Or Game Week 4, is it? Yeah, all the Game Week 4 wildcarders have him.
All the ones that just got Gray because everyone else was, and like he got a goal a week before. You know, the depth of their analysis, and it's tough. And they only got him because it's the only one they could afford to get because they were getting Ronaldo, you know.
Do you know who the next one is, though? Gallagher. So I always say, if you look at the transfers and you transfer a player out and you just look at the top 6, like most points in any position, if there's like a cheap player that's like half the price of every other player, anyone who transfers out an injured player or a red carded player just buys the cheapest guy on the scroll down. Like every casual, millions of them, as you say. Oh god! But on that note, there was a comment earlier. I think it was about Late Riser's move. Actually, I'm trying to find it for you. So apparently, he's posted it on Twitter, and he has already done Calvert-Lewin to Bamford, by the sounds of it.
I think, yeah. So it's quite actually a 3-minute video. There's some other funny moments, but I won't kill you guys watching the rest of it. But honestly, like Nick was. He was not happy that day. I just remember, like, so I thought he looked like a serial killer when he drank that water bottle. He was ready.
He couldn't look at the camera anymore. He had to look down. That's how he would be found out. He had murder in his eyes.
Yeah, no, and I think it was probably like 2 a.m. in New Zealand as well when we were live.
Yeah.
But big shout out to him because I remember there was a time he actually co-hosted a show with you, and when none of the rest of us were available, and that video is part of Net That Haul heritage, honestly. So Chatsport asked, does Nick still have a channel? So sadly, I don't think he makes his short weekly like FPL pods or videos anymore. He's a big chess player, and he's tried to zone out from the FPL Twitter noise, and he like logs in once every few months on Twitter and writes a message, and that's about it. But he's trying to go back to playing his own game that made him that great manager he was, and avoid that kind of 5 million players every week buying the same player that Twitter talks about. So maybe when we talk about the preseason content, that would be something to think about. How do you block out the noise? But let's go to the Man United Fulham game then, and that's the last game of the Gameweek 38 matchup show, and then we'll get the captaincy metric up, and for one last time, see if there's a sexy punt to go and take to climb up our mini league tables.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing that stands out is the 0.0 NetxG for Fulham. And I'll tell you
I've never
why.
seen that before. Maybe once. I think I've seen a negative before when the goalkeeper had such a great metric that it took the other.
It brings it down to negative. That happens usually like early on in the season when we don't have much data. So the goalkeeper metric here for De Gea is 1.0, so it's taking one full NetxG away from Fulham. So Fulham should really be at 1 if you remove the goalkeeper metric. And the reason is De Gea, last 6 home games, 3 out of 3 big chances saved. That's the that's.
I was gonna say, like, I think they've only conceded 8 goals at home this season in the Premier League. I think.
Yeah.
Actually insane. The comparison to their away form, where they've been getting leathered like 4, 5, 6-0 by everyone in the top 12 of the league. I just don't quite understand like that disconnect. Like, how are they so good defensively at home and then they're conceding so many goals away? Like, I just something like, you know, the Gea won the bloody Golden Gloves, and everyone's talking about obviously getting rid of him and selling him for a keeper that distributes better, and how that's the next evolution of Ten Hag ball. But he's got the fucking Golden Glove.
Yeah, I mean, well, not just that. It's I mean, his mistakes, his lows are really low, right? Like there was that, like how many times does he get beat near post, right? Like they're just like you can just, his highs are quite high. He comes up with some big saves, and they have these weird like home away disparities, which are, you know, tough to describe, but when he fucks up, he really fucks up. It's like
some of those dodgy passes he's made to his defenders and put them in trouble. He's definitely been at fault recently for quite a few moments where, like, I think where United have been getting beaten badly away from home against that top half opponents, it's been like severely overperforming the opponent's XG. And the opponent, like even in that 7-0 against Liverpool, right? Like the XG for Liverpool was not that high. So it seems to be like that. It's not that they're getting like conceding loads of chances, just all the chances that are getting conceded are all going in away from home. But then at home, they've only conceded 8 goals. So I've got Shaw, obviously. I'm definitely playing him and not selling him this week. For people who do need to move a defender on, some people have a City defender who they're not sure will start, for example. Would a United defender be a more appealing move for you on the last day than going for like an Everton defender in that kind of must-win game, or a Arsenal defender when they've been quite poor at homes conceding? Is it actually that United are the one to be targeting if you do have to buy a goalkeeper or defender?
So I mean, definitely don't buy a defender if you don't have to. If you do have to,
if you don't have to, don't make that your transfer.
Yeah,
Ideally,
if you do have to, I mean, United's fine. I mean, I think there are others that I prefer, but I do like United because they're home. But keep in mind that these Fulham stats are without Mitrovic. And I could just see Mitrovic kind of like taking advantage. Look, Fulham have a better headed matchup than United at 2.8. It's not fantastic, but 2.8 is decent, right? So 2.8 headed matchup. Mitrovic just coming back, statement game. I could see Mitrovic getting something and maybe ruining the clean sheet. But for United, and I think Val mentioned it here, Rashford, right? Like United 4.0 in the FDR, even though it's only 1.3 in NetxG. That left side is 4.3 compared to the 3.7 for the center and 3.6 on the right. So you got to love Rashford if he's playing on that left-hand side. We're not sure that he's going to be on the left. He might be playing at the 9.
I guess we'll see tomorrow as well, right? So obviously there was talk that he's trained. He seems to be over the illness. I'm not going to be getting my 8 points from Botman and jamming the bench. That's for certain. Like whether Rashford starts or not, like I can't see a world in which he doesn't cameo when United have to get a point still to secure Champions League. If United lose tomorrow night, is it time to captain a United player at home to Fulham in a game that they then have to get points in to secure Champions League next year? Obviously, a lot of it will depend on tomorrow's result, but against Chelsea, and you would think they'd beat Chelsea tomorrow, but you never know. That Chelsea might turn up and get a win.
Yeah,
could happen. Crazier things have happened.
I mean, I think the only player I would captain is probably Rashford. So I think he's captainable if you're sure he's going to play on the left side. If he's playing down the center, I don't think so. Not at all. For those that do own Bruno Fernandes, Fulham have conceded the most pens in the last 6. They've conceded 4
in the last 6.
In 4 pens in the last 6.
How? Like what the? How? What is going on?
That stat blew me away.
That's insane. I think there's some teams out there that haven't had 4 penalties all season. Yeah,
I know.
Shit, man. Kevin, we've started your comment about you need a defensive punt. So when we get to the Q&A in a moment, we will cover that. We will make sure we cover all we've got 12 questions starred actually from the chat. So we will come back to all of those in the Q&A. So Chatspot's gone for Anthony. I think a lot of people went for Anthony as a punt in this double game week. Obviously, the second game hasn't happened yet, so we don't know how that's gone. But
I mean, Anthony will be up against Anthony Robinson, and I think Robinson is not the greatest matchup for Anthony, Brazilian Anthony.
Yeah.
But again, he's one of those chaos merchants as well, where he can turn something, he can turn nothing into something. So that's why you go for players like that. Matoma the same. Matoma can get something in any match because he can.
Like when we saw the Steele assist in Gameweek 29, right? He just ran through, got the ball from Steele, popped it in over the goalkeeper into the net. It's like he had no right to do that. Matoma had no right to. That was disgusting. Like to get a Steele assist and a Matoma captaincy goal there while I was in Edinburgh for the FPL meeting general for the first time, and then having shots with him and Adam from above average. I was like, that was when FPL season peaks for me. I started getting green arrows around then, and then ever since then, it's just been a shit show. But that was probably my highlight of the season, that Matoma captaincy and being there with General, who, fingers crossed, it sounds like he might be joining us in the preseason for one of the episodes. So I think we announced this in a prior episode, but for anyone who didn't know, we're hoping to have FPL General on. So Mark is a great friend of the show, and it would be lovely to have him on. But any feelings for the Martial owners? So I have a friend who they went for Martial this week instead of Alvarez. They had to buy a striker. Martial didn't even make 60 minutes. We'll see how he does tomorrow. Like, what are your thoughts on him? Like, it's a bit embarrassing that the guy can't do 60 minutes as a professional footballer. Like, the guy had a Ballon d'Or clause in his contract. Like, he was the youngest teenager ever bought in football history at the time when he was bought. What went wrong for him? Is it attitude? Is it fitness? Like I mean, you know, he's shown over like glimpses of elite level football. Like he's a baller when he wants to be, but it doesn't seem to be very often. Has he gone down the Neymar route, but without having achieved what Neymar did?
Well, I mean, I just think that the all of the uncertainty and the instability at United had maybe a greater impact on someone of,
I guess, certain players it impacted them differently,
personality, right? than it would have on somebody else. Maybe I don't know, you know, like it
it's
could
really
be
sad. Honestly, he was such an
United, maybe he needed a mentor, right? And when you're always changing managers and that's the staff is always changing, it's hard to find that anchor. I mean, I'm guessing
he was meant to be like the next Thierry Henry, man. Like from
Yeah,
a
but
France perspective, like from a French football perspective, like he was phenomenal as a kid. I honestly don't know what happened, but on that note, if he doesn't start in Gameweek 38 against Fulham, that's where maybe the Rashford captaincy, as you say, is not as ideal, because if Rashford's through the middle, that's perhaps not where you want him to be as a captaincy punt.
Right.
But yeah, okay, cool. Should we go to? I'm just making sure the next slide is not the captaincy, and I accidentally like show it or something.
Like Com registered my Freudian slip when Anthony is more likely to turn something into nothing. That's what I almost said twice.
Okay, there is one more matchup. I thought this was the last one, but let me see. Oh, Southampton versus Liverpool, another captaincy.
This is another one where everyone's like piling on Liverpool assets. Is Liverpool the way to go? Is that where we punt? Obviously, we went for Firmino for our title slide.
Yeah. If United win tomorrow and Liverpool cannot get Champions League, is that when we then expect Firmino to start? Because I don't see Firmino starting if Liverpool can still get Champions League in the last week.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's the big if, right? So, and then NetxG likes Liverpool. 2.1 compared to 0.9 for Southampton, but the FDR not so much, just 1.3 for Liverpool, probably because it's away. They haven't been as good away, obviously, and negative 0.4 for Southampton here. I will say, like, Liverpool's finishing has improved. I think Gakpo has been involved, and different players have been involved. So you look at the shots on target model, like 2 goals, 31%. Versus 26% for the shots goal for Liverpool. Even though at 3 goals it evens out there. But for Liverpool, I like Luis Diaz on just because of his dribbling ability and ability to break down a deep block because of it. So I think he'll be running at them, and I like Firmino obviously because if they have nothing to play for, like you said. If they do have something to play for, it still wouldn't surprise me too much if Bobby starts, because he could go in there and then drop into midfield and kind of draw out that the deep block. If Southampton's playing in a deep block, Firmino could maybe draw them out. So I just like, obviously you can't ignore Firmino because of what he's done for the club and just like the vibes going into his final game.
No, fair. So obviously Liverpool, Salah's my current vice captain. With how my season's gone and Haaland starting tonight, if there was any sniff of news that he didn't start in Gameweek 38, I think I would go for the Salah captaincy, especially if Liverpool still have a chance for top 4 by then. I hope they do, just so that it gives me more credence to captain Salah. I have Trent anyway. I don't see myself personally going to Firmino and tripling up on them away from home. They haven't been so great this season, as you say, away from home, Liverpool. And I think the NetxG and the FDR, they slightly disagree in the sense that they're both positive for Liverpool, but the NetxG definitely likes Liverpool more than the FDR does. So from an FDR point of view, it's kind of neutral at 1.3, I would say, to a minus 0.4. Southampton are well and truly finished. Is there an argument that when you have literally nothing left to play for, that there is no pressure and maybe you can play better? So are we maybe overestimating Liverpool's abilities away from home against a team just because they're bottom, when actually like there's literally no pressure on them at this stage? That they're not expected to do anything, right? We're all looking at like 3-0, 4-0 Liverpool. That's what everyone's predicting. Is that just what we're telling ourselves to like fit our narrative to like suit our needs?
That hasn't been Liverpool away this season, has it? So yeah, I would think that that's just a narrative to fit what we want.
It's what we want to see rather than what maybe like this season away from home Liverpool have shown us.
What exactly? And look at Southampton's headed matchup is notable. 3.6 is really strong, which indicates maybe a Ward-Prowse delivery to somebody. So Ward-Prowse could get something that would be kind of like where Southampton's goal would come from. But it wouldn't surprise me for Southampton were to score, especially if it were to come from something from Ward-Prowse at home in their final game in the Premier League.
Yeah, this doesn't reassure me from a Salah captaincy point of view, beyond, again, him wanting to maybe get to, similar to what we said about Kane, on an individual level, him wanting to get to 20 Premier League goals and 30 goals in all competitions, that kind of individual goal scoring record there. So that's the only real thing I think I can say, because as long as United get a draw tomorrow and do the business, like, what do Liverpool really have to play for on Sunday? Yeah. So yeah, I think captaincy on Salah will very much for me depend on whether Liverpool can get Champions League or not, as unlikely as it may be. Before I accidentally click onto the next slide and show the captaincy rankings for the week, I am going to play the captaincy jingle real quick. And then we will see who is top of the table. And is it the kind of forever present Haaland, as he has been this season, unless it's a double game week that he doesn't double in? Or is it someone new? I wonder. I'm interested because I've genuinely not looked because I didn't want to spoil the surprise for myself. So let's see. Oh, that's the matchup summary. I will come back to that. Haaland is top with 90, despite the minutes being quite low in the percentiles compared to everyone else on this list. Salah is actually up there at second with 87, tied with Kane on 87. Odegaard is there on 86. Bruno Fernandes on 83. De Bruyne on 83. And Trent comes in as a defender at 81. Saka, Son, Rashford, Gundogan, and Mahrez round off the top of the captaincy metric. So no Maddison, as I was hoping to see in this fixture. No Vardy, as we said. No Eze, despite how great he and Palace have been. It's just, Haaland is just unstoppable, isn't he? I really want to go against him. And this at least gives me enough hope that Salah and Kane are kind of up there on 87 each. They're only 3 behind Haaland. But then the question is, it always comes back down to expected minutes, right? So if you were to increase the minutes for Haaland, he would be way ahead. He's only close to them because his minutes are 76th percentile, whereas Salah is 88th percentile and Kane is 96th percentile, right? So when you kind of, if you believe Haaland plays good minutes in that game, it isn't as close as the metric would show, right? So really it comes down to how long does Haaland play tonight? Do you think he's going to be rested in the next game or subbed early or not start? It's really, it's just become that kind of guessing game on his minutes, hasn't it? And he's pretty much almost started every single game that he's been fit for, apart from last week. That was like the first time this season that he didn't start a Premier League game that he was fit for.
Yeah.
Is it going to happen twice in 3 games?
I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, I think he wants to break records as well. He you know, and I would imagine that just to get him to come to City, that they probably promised him opportunities to break those records, you know, if it was there for him. So I think he'll play. I think he'll haul. But one thing I want to point out here is let's take a look. Let's examine, do a little bit of a dive here in the next couple minutes on Rashford.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Rashford is quite low here because of the minutes. The minutes is at 29th percentile. So let's
very low. Yeah.
It's really low, and it's because he's missed recently, right? So that also affects his expected points. If you go all the way across, he's at 24th percentile for expected points in the game week predictions. So he's at 78, and let's compare him to, let's say, Bruno, just 5 points above at 83. Kind of Rashford and Bruno is at 96th percentile with the minutes. Rashford beats Bruno, like, look, Hall 71, 71st percentile to 2nd percentile. Rashford, we're going Rashford to Bruno. Return 82 to 61. Points 76 to 69, and so on and so forth. Rashford actually surpasses Bruno in almost every single category. So if we bump Rashford's minutes up, similar to Bruno's, I think he's up by Kane and Salah. I think that's, he jumps.
He'd actually end up even like with that top 3 or top 4, he'd be in that region.
Yeah, because if you look, let's compare it to Salah's numbers. Rashford's are actually quite close. The haul is close. The return is close, 82 to 96. Points, 94 to 76. NetxG higher for Rashford. So I think he would be right in that conversation. Maybe Odegaard or Odegaard is I think Mariners still has Odegaard, like as if he's a deodorant of some sort. But yeah, so I think he's right in there and definitely in the conversation if he's on the left.
Yeah, no, I think I was surprised to see Odegaard so high up. I'm not going to lie. I didn't expect him to be up there with the others in that category. So maybe I do need to reconsider. I think I told you about potentially selling Bruno to get to Eze so I could fund Kane. If I dodged Kane, I could just kind of, you know, get Eze or Odegaard or Saka for my second Brighton mid. The thing that concerns me is there's no other forward here. And I know I always say every week that, like, I don't just use the captaincy metric to pick my captain. I also use it to look at, do I have those players as transfer targets for this week? And there isn't any other forward. It's just Haaland and Kane in the captaincy metric. And that's, so it's like, so if I was going to sell Isaac, like, who would I get? So should I be making 2 mid transfers? Should I just be looking to go all in the midfield? That's something I'm
but who do you have in midfield that you would sell? Like one of the Brighton ones? Like
one of them, yeah. Probably one of Mitoma or McAllister. I wouldn't sell Salah. I wouldn't sell Rashford. And seeing Fernandes this high up the captaincy metric, I don't think I could sell him either.
Right.
So that means there is, unless I sell both Brighton mids, I like just go all in, like balls deep. Like,
well, you kind of have to, and then just to get to maybe Odegaard or something like that, right?
Well, I could go like for Odegaard and Eze, for example. Like just that would be it. But then I'd play Isaac. Like I would just be like, you know what? Fuck it. He's gonna screw Chelsea and just pray that he's less of a provider.
So how many? Let's see. Most people, you know, will own Haaland, Salah, maybe Bruno, Trent. Like we do own a lot of these players here, which. Well, I mean, it's good for us, but I think a lot of these players are quite highly owned
Already, yeah.
And so how do you differentiate? Odegaard is kind of like the highest ranked
Odegaard and Gundogan.
differential.
Those are the two that are the most exciting.
Yeah, so maybe that's the direction.
Obviously, with the news that I think, did we say Gundogan starts tonight? Yeah, he does. Damn. I wouldn't buy Gundogan unless I saw some kind of news on Sunday that he started. I don't think. Odegaard, I'd be certain he starts for that captain farewell send off at home, as you say. So maybe he's the one I go for. Now I'm in a situation where I don't know who I would sell like for my second transfer, because I could still do Isaac to like a Watkins. I know Watkins doesn't appear in this list, but that's because this list is based on data, and we always say that you want to add context, right, to the data, and that context of Villa being able to get into Europe and having to kind of get their talisman on penalties playing 90 minutes. If I'm not looking to captain him anyway, maybe that's the way I go. Maybe it's just keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Watkins and Odegaard, or Watkins and Gundogan, like just whichever one of those.
Wait, do you have Alvarez? Do you prioritize Alvarez since Alvarez isn't starting today?
So he's benched today, yeah. So I guess if he subs on early, then maybe actually Isaac to Alvarez.
And then you can go like McAllister up to Odegaard.
That is true. Yeah, that's an option. I think I definitely haven't seen many people considering City assets. Like, not many people want to buy them because I understand that the roulette's a bit intense. But if you get a City mid or a City striker,
Alvarez, I might captain Alvarez.
Yeah, that because I know they've won the league anyway, but
yeah,
surely they want to keep momentum for their 2 cup finals. Like they've been on the piss up celebrating for a while now. Like surely they're not going to keep drinking all the way to the cup final. I know Grealish will, but the rest of them were a bit more human. I don't think Grealish is. I've never seen Grealish sober. He reminds me a bit like Tony Adams when he used to play for Arsenal.
He's been a good boy lately, hasn't he? I don't know. I don't follow these things.
No, he is. Like he looked great.
Like having a Jamie Tart transformation.
Yeah. Honestly, he's been great. But I always think of Grealish as like a lad, like just the guy who's always out getting smashed. Like he said it in his interview when he's talking about Haaland, right? He's like talking about how like Haaland will like go and like do sauna and like physio and like do all this other stuff outside of training to like be at the best of like the possible human physicality and shape and be the best specimen of human body. And then Grealish is like, yeah, like I'm just gonna go out and party. And he's like, Haaland don't do this shit.
Grealish is old school.
Yeah, he's like the old English footballers of old. Go out on the piss, eat their bangers and mash. But no, I do love Jack. He's been a great player this season. But okay, cool. I think for me, I'm now leaning towards if I knew a City player was starting, whether it's Gundogan, Mahrez, Alvarez, they're definitely firmly in my thoughts as a transfer in. I would rather focus on those guys than like McNeil, just because Mikalenko starts, for example.
And that's what I'm saying. When you think of the options, are you going to go for like Ezra, or are you going to go for Odegaard? Like, come on. You're going to get the good players from the good teams. That's a maxim that does not
There is
change.
a lot of recency bias, isn't there, in our decision? Yeah. So should we thank the haulers quickly, and then we'll do the Q&A and get everyone ready for the match that starts in 10 minutes. The matchup summary, I'm not really going to go over it because we covered it in each of the individual matches, but I'll put it on the screen. If you're on podcast or listening on video, 1 hour 43. It's going to be on the screen for like 3-4 seconds, so you can pause it at 1 hour 43. You can have a look at the best attacking, defensive, zonals, and all the other data for this week, all in just one place. Easy to see all the data without going through each individual matchup.
Right on.
But before we answer all the questions from the live Q&A for the last time this season, a big thank you to all the haulers who it wouldn't be possible without your help and support. So our super haulers on YouTube, FPL Robbie, Greenback Golf, Daddy Bot, Tahar, and Harbour Boy. Thank you for all your support this year, guys. Our haulers, Dread FPL, FPL Craig, Podner, Kevin Rose, C Hunt, Mike Halpin, Donny FPL, Oscar, William, FPL Teacher, Blonde, S Scottizem, FF Casuals Pod, Tom Gorish, Davindra Raj, Lindsay, FPL DG Boy, Akshay, Dom, Claire FPL, Catherine A, Salah the Samurai, Antonis, Harry Not Kane, Neil, Sebastian Koo, and Benjamin Lockwood. And then finally, a shout out to our Patreon supporters, Elron, Lucien Gann, and FPL California. Thank you all for your support. I believe all of you are now in the Discord channel. apart from Benjamin Lockwood. So do let me know if you're still struggling to get in, and we will get you in there just to enjoy some chat with the rest of the Haulers community. I don't think I can ask people to sign up with the content finished now. So I'm not going to say please become a member when we're not going to have any content for a few weeks. But when the preseason ramps up, if you do want to be part of the Discord and join our little community, do consider subscribing as a member on either YouTube or Patreon. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure, guys. It's been a real roller coaster with you all. Having that kind of close-knit community in Discord, some of those kind of hangouts and voice chats that we've had as well, getting to know you guys better. It's been so much fun. And we will look at feedback and ideas for how we might want to develop the Discord next season. Maybe we want to try and grow the Haulers community and have like a free channel that anyone who watches the show can join, where we can then obviously have more of us in the server. And let us know if you're one of the members, what you think about that idea and any feedback you have on ways to improve it next year. So let's go to the Q&A. So we've got some. On that note, we will take the question from Discord first, and then we will get to the ones from the live chat. So Dom Black Dragon asks, Gameweek 38, any differential attacking captain picks below 25% EO with favorable fixtures? Below, so midfielder or striker below 25% EO with a favorable fixture. For that question, I will put the summary slide up again. Sub 25% EO for a captaincy. Well, the FDR at 3.5 for Arsenal is second best, right? After United. So you could argue that like a Anthony or a Saka Odegaard captaincy, I imagine that all three of them are sub 25% EO.
Saka's 27%.
Oof, just over.
Odegaard is 31%.
I guess it depends what rank you are as well, right? So
honestly, Gundogan if he starts.
Gundogan if he starts, yeah.
Looking who else. I wouldn't captain Bruno Fernandes.
Any love for Jamie Vardy having a party? He's definitely under 25%.
Hell no. I'm not going there. Honest, no, it's
tough to suggest Gundogan though without knowing he starts, and I don't know if everyone wants to play like server crashing roulette with team news.
I mean, yeah, if you go, you could go City. City is the way to go, under 25% owned, and you have to play server crashing roulette.
Alvarez is currently under 25%, I think. So,
but maybe he is. I'll look at Alvarez.
He's someone who I think is just under.
Yeah, there you go. Alvarez again.
Especially with the benching tonight, maybe he's
5.9%. Could be huge.
Could be huge. And then the second question from this call from Sebastian Koo, he asks, should I sell Haaland and get in Harry Kane?
No.
I wouldn't personally. My way to Kane would be to keep Haaland. Even though I might not captain Haaland this week, I don't know if I could sell him for Kane. But it depends how far behind you are and like how gung-ho you want to go, and like, because that's a real Hail Mary move. That's like a proper Hail Mary move, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I don't know if I would stomach that. But so questions from the live chat as well. So Kevin asks, hey guys, I'm happy with my attackers, but I need a defensive upside punt to replace Botman. 5.4 million available. See, the difficulty is I imagine he already owns Luke Shaw, because like, I know we said that there is a world in which obviously Fulham do score with Mitrovic, but their defensive FDR this week, it is 2.9, which is actually the best defensive FDR of the entire game week. But I imagine he already owns Shaw, right? So then if we go to kind of Everton, that defensive FDR is only 0.5. There's been shouts for kind of Cody, Yerry Mina, these kind of guys. I don't know if I could go that way, but it is a punt. Yeah, I guess Ben White, maybe Gabriel Magalhaes. Maybe you think he's going to get a headed goal, or Ben White can get an assist. 2.1 defensive FDR for Arsenal, definitely within your budget as well. It's actually the second best defensive FDR this week after United, which is quite interesting. And then Crystal Palace. It's a shame that Van Aanholt's gone. I remember buying him in Gameweek 38 a few seasons ago.
I got someone. Mark Gay. Gay has a bunch of headed chances for some reason, and I think Palace have a decent headed matchup. So that would be a punt. But I think I'd prefer someone like Ben White.
Fair. Yeah. No, that sounds good to me. We go to, let's see what questions we have here. So we have a few comments actually. So Zach just says it was a tough season, but you guys certainly made it more enjoyable. Thanks for all the effort and awesome content. Thank you, Zach. Martin Shackleton says, I've loved all the philosophy bits. If you could do a quick video of each one, would be cool. That'd be pretty epic if we can cut them all into one, just like one long blockbuster philosophy video or something.
If I can get access to the shorts from our YouTube channel,
yeah, if we could get access to the YouTube channel, full stop. But we'll try to see if we can. Maybe this summer's the summer.
That's a good idea. I'll think about doing that.
So Chat Sport said he'd go for Ramsey from Villa. Just when we were talking about Villa, I thought I'd put that comment up there. FPL Pharmacist asks Decore. So
yeah, maybe.
Like, I think if Calvert-Lewin's out, obviously the talk was that he'd be pushed further forward, so they would like rely on him to be a bit more of a box-to-box player and carry that threat. I don't hate that option. I think, like, if you can't afford like an Odegaard, there's a big price difference, I imagine. Then would you go Decore over Eze?
If he gets pushed forward, sure, why not? It would be a fun punt to play like an out of position Decore.
Yeah, at home against Bournemouth, need to get a result.
That's a way to make it fun, sure.
Yeah, I like that. I think I'd still pick Eze personally, but Decore is I think it's a coin flip between the two. I don't mind Decore. Ballroom Jam missed the start evening, and yes, good luck for the final game. We could see you, mate. We have Val just said that best teams with the highest clean sheet odds this week are Arsenal and United. So I think that kind of reiterates your point about Ben White. And thank you, Val, for doing Gameweek 38 in style. So Tricky MF asks, I might dump my United defensive triple up and go for the Everton variant on free hit. Tarkovsky at the very least, maybe Pickford for the saves. So they're looking to, obviously, they're free hitting this week, and I think they're looking to go from 3 United defenders to 3 Everton defenders, or at least 1 or 2. With what we've just said about the defensive FDR for United, I don't know if I'd move all 3 on, but sure, like I'd replace 1 maybe, or 1 or 2 of them. And is Tarkovsky the most exciting option out of the Everton defenders? Or is someone like Yerry Mina or Cody, or I don't even know if Cody will start, that's the thing.
I wouldn't go Everton. I mean,
I wouldn't be looking to sell United players for Everton, but would you be interested in Pickford if you had like De Gea?
Well, won't Kivior start?
Yeah, Kivior's 4 million.
And he'll play, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so go there.
Just grab him as a punt on free hit. No one will have him, and if you get a clean sheet there, you'll be laughing. But I feel like Tricky's very much a stacking kind of player. Like you kind of try to predict 1 clean sheet that week. And if you get that 1 clean sheet, you have all the assets from that one team.
That's true. I don't think he's going. I don't think he's suggesting going fully into the Everton camp and getting 3 Everton defenders. I think he's just like maybe breaking up the United triple up, and I would break up the United triple up because if Rashford plays on the left, I think you have to have Rashford. So go for the United double up and then throw in Kivior at 4.
So you kind of use that spot for Rashford. So you move on your free hit from 3 defenders, you get 1 out, you bring in Rashford. I like that. Kevin Rose mentioned he doesn't actually own Shaw. So I think for me, like that would be my priority over Ben White. What else do we have here? Just a couple more to go. So JMC, Johnny Belfast, he was actually there that night live, pissing himself laughing when Nick went on his epic rant about Gray, and he says some neighborhood dogs or cats may have went missing that night. Combs says, Kane and Mitrovic are 100% in my free hit team this coming week. I currently have Haaland as well, who could easily turn into Jesus or Nketiah. Yeah, I wouldn't turn it into Nketiah, but Jesus, sure. Again, I don't know if I'd get rid of Haaland for Jesus. It's a tough one, man. I wouldn't do it. Like it depends again, like where you're at, how gung-ho you want to go.
I think you get rid of Haaland for Alvarez, if anything.
Yeah, like for another City striker, that's the route I'd go. If you wanted Jesus, I'd maybe get him instead of Kane, and maybe see if you could fit in Son into your free hit somehow.
De Bruyne is starting. So
Kevin's gone for Kane captain. He's going to go for Kane captain. You never know. I've said I won't buy him, but I might end up buying him and captaining him, the Judas that I am. Val says Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes will haul in Gameweek 38. Trust me. Tricky MF asked about Garnacho. I got him in a draft league this week. I do love the kid, but I can't with those expected minutes. I just can't. Not for my last week punt. Well, what am I going to do if I buy a guy for my last chance to go up in my mini league and he don't even start? I know he's called off the bench, but that's not sustainable. Like,
yeah, Garnacho's not going to start, and I think his United's best team is Garnacho right now. Garnacho on the left and Rashford at the 9. I think.
Okay,
but I don't think that's how Ten Hag's.
You're not sure that's how he'll approach it, and it depends on whether they get the points to qualify tomorrow or not.
Exactly,
well,
a lot depends on tomorrow.
So it's difficult to call a United attacker until we see what happens tomorrow. He also asks as a final question: would you prioritize 5 midfielders this week or 3 forwards? So I'm in a 3-5-2. I don't see a world in which I'm going to end up with 3 forwards as it stands. I'm probably going to just buy like a new forward for Isaac and a new midfielder for one of my Brighton mids. So I'll probably stick with 3-5-2.
Prioritize players, not structure right now at this point. Whatever you're in, I think is good.
I'm not looking to move out of my structure, for example. Like,
right.
I'm not gonna, for instance, right? Like, I'm not gonna sell Greenwood to upgrade him, and then like do that by selling one of my midfielders and then have a bench.
You're not gonna go Salah to Andreas and Greenwood to Kane. You're not gonna.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna make these changes. I'm not. Yeah, like if I've got 2 transfers, I want to use both of them on.
But he's
two players that play.
He's on free hit, so that's why he's asking.
On free hit. So the forwards that were mentioned as punts, there are some exciting ones like Mitrovic, Alvarez.
I'd have 3 forwards.
Yeah, I think on a free hit, sure. If you don't have to rip your structure apart, yeah, I think go for that. Because the reason a lot of us are in the 3-5-2 is because we have 2 Brighton mids.
Who would be your 3?
I'm just looking at the FDR real quick before I commit. I want to say Mitrovic. The FDR does not like him at all. It's like the worst attacking FDR of the fucking week. Fuck Mitrovic. I would go for Jesus. Haaland I'd still keep unless I heard he didn't start. So that would be down to the wire. And then he would become Alvarez if he didn't start. So Jesus, Haaland or Alvarez, and Kane. That would be me. That would be me. What about you?
I would go Jesus, Haaland, and Alvarez. Both of them.
Cool. Have both. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Zach says, I think I'll finish this game week around 60k. Should I get an ultra differential player to try and get another top 50k finish, or can normal variants get me there? I guess the question is, how many points away from top 50k does it show in live FPL you are? If it's like 2-3 points, I don't think you need ultra differential to catch that, but it would help if you got one and they hauled silly. Even if they just got 6 points, it would help. But I wouldn't pick a differential for the sake of it, even though it's the last week.
Yeah, I would take issue with the line of thinking.
Because that differential could equally push you out the top 100k.
Not just that, but these are just arbitrary numbers. Like, should you get a super ultra differential so you get top 23k? Like, we're just throwing, like, why 50k, 60k? 50k, 60k is the same shit.
Yeah. To me, it's all the same.
40k, 50k, 60k, it's the same shit. And like, if you set this arbitrary target of like you want to get top 50k, right? And you get 55k, look, you know what? You hit your fucking goal.
I think it's still a successful season, yeah.
Yeah. So I just say, like, play, like, do what's been successful for you. Like keep, because that's probably going to be fun.
Where you are now, you're doing great, right? So
yeah.
You've done so well so far. I wouldn't second guess yourself at the last hurdle. Colin says Mitrovic had to go and come in. Right, the match started 4 minutes ago, so I'm going to just answer one last question, I think, or 2 last questions from Johnny and Nehal, and then we will get out of here. So the last questions are, Nehal asks, thoughts on Alvarez to Ferguson and Mitoma to Odegaard for a hit? I don't think I'd go near that for a hit.
No, keep Alvarez, but getting Odegaard, I like, if you can get it.
I guess the hits needed to fund it. I don't know if there's anyone else you can sell apart from Alvarez, but maybe that's the only realistic transfer he can make. So keep an eye on tonight. Maybe Alvarez subs on and gets injured. If he does, then sure, take the hit.
And we have to make sure that Alvarez doesn't start and that Ferguson does start. So those are 2 questions.
Yeah, like we don't. Yeah, they're both question marks. Right?
If that's the case, then I love it.
Yeah, if you knew, like, because again, so much news might come out right at the depth of it, right? If you knew Ferguson started, which he's not tonight, but neither is Alvarez, and you knew Alvarez didn't start, then sure. But last question from Johnny, and then we're out of here. He's had Edouard for the last few weeks as Palace have had good fixtures. He brought him in case of emergency. He's going to start him for variance out of. So who should he start out of variance? Botman, Grealish, Mitoma, McAllister, Isaac. So I think he's going to start. What I get from this answer question is that he's going to start Edouard anyway, but then he's going to sell one of the others for someone. He's saying, who should I dump and for whom?
Yeah.
So if you had to sell one of the others, who would you be selling? For me, it would probably be Botman to Kivior or Isaac to Watkins or something like that, right?
Bench Botman, sell, go Isaac to Alvarez, Isaac to Watkins, something like that.
Yeah. Or if you can get from like McAllister or Mitoma to like Odegaard, as we said. So cool. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Big shout out again to Bobby Firmino for his final farewell send-off from Liverpool. Brazilian legend of the Premier League era. I believe he still holds the record for the most goals in a season by a Brazilian player in the Premier League. Do tweet us, Johnny, in case we misunderstood your question. And, he says just starting Edouard and dumping one of the others. So I think, I would definitely start Edouard. And realistically, I would be dumping Grealish, I think, personally. Like, I just think he's been on the piss for a while. And, unless you hear that he starts, I'm not convinced. But let's see. All right. Well, thank you as well, Kevin. It's been a pleasure to see out the season. Good to see you, Gabe. And we will put some news out when we're looking into preseason content as we start to get going in that time. As we
really quickly on that, we are like we're always looking for the next thing, just that as a reminder, we brought the Zonal Matchups to the FPL community, and we're on to the next thing for next season, so we couldn't do that without the support of all the haulers. So we really do appreciate it, and hopefully we can grow next season and do even more, and that's always the goal. So we're really excited for I'm really excited for the off season because we get to dig into the metrics and retool everything.
Really, I remember last year there was like a lot of work done to move the data around.
And it's fun work. It's cool. So just thank you to all the haulers for allowing us to do this, making it possible.
Stuff. All right, well, we will see you out this season, and good luck in Gameweek 38, everyone. May you hit your goals and targets, and if not, just enjoy the FPL beach for a few months off, and we will see you next season. Take care, and ta-da.